Hey guys, excuse me. How's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with another vid. And this is just a quick video of me complaining about life. The last few days have been pretty terrible. It all started on Wednesday. As I've mentioned in some of my other videos, I'm an IT person. And Wednesdays are the days when, in my organization, well, it's one Wednesday a month. We basically work, we start late. We start at noon on that day, and then we patch our systems at 6 p.m. And the reason we do this is we've basically have determined the best time to patch all our systems is Wednesday from 6 to 9 p.m. because we're a 24/7 operation. And that's pretty much the time where it has the least impact. So anyway, we went to do that this past Wednesday, and that is when shit hit the fan. Basically, what it boils down to, I'm going to give an extremely brief explanation of what happened. I'm not going to go into the weeds to bore everyone to death. Basically, we have a main database server that serves out databases to all sorts of important critical application servers, right? So the preferred method of, if we're going to do anything with that main database server, if we're going to reboot it, update it, whatever, is we shut down all of the other application servers first. We make sure they're offline. That way, when the main database server comes back, those application servers aren't trying to connect to a database server that's not there. So we shut down all these application servers, right? And which we thought, okay, whatever, no big deal. We go to reboot. We reboot the database server. The database server came back up just fine. But when we went to power on the application servers, and our application servers are virtual machines in VMware ESXi. So we go to start those back up, and they don't start. Basically, they refuse. So, of course, at this point, we're looking around trying to figure out what's happening. Apparently, you have to reset vCenter or do something or restart a service on vCenter. Unfortunately, here's where the fun really began. We didn't have the root administrator password for vCenter, so it's like, well, fuck, let's try to force a restart on vCenter. I bet you can guess where this is going. So we did at least take the precaution before we shut down vCenter. We shut down the rest of our VMs, right? So we powered all the VMs off. Then we restarted vCenter, or tried to. vCenter never came back. So, because vCenter didn't come back, we weren't able to restart our virtual machines. So, then we tried, instead of controlling it through vCenter, because vCenter, just to explain to non-IT people, vCenter is kind of the master controller for all of these virtual machines that you can manage them, without being on the actual physical box where the VMs are located, right? So if that's not down, you're going to have a bad time. And it was down, so we're like, okay, let's go try on the actual box itself, right? Well, we go to try it on the actual box itself, and we don't know the password for the actual physical box. So it's just a comedy of errors at this point. And it just kind of kept going that way. So then, of course, we had to try to hack into it. To basically, you can't hack those boxes, which we had to do, just to reset the root password. But long story short, I was there. I got to work at noon on Wednesday, and I left work at 7 a.m. on Thursday. So I was there for a whopping 19 hours all at once. That was exciting. And by the end of that 19 hours, we had successfully gotten some of the stuff back up. We weren't totally dead in the water at that point, but we certainly were nowhere near really operational. Not really. We had a couple of things working at that point, but it was still not anywhere near where we needed to be. So I leave. I wasn't alone. The team was. I mean, the IT team. We were all there together. And leave at Thursday 7 a.m. I go home. I get home about a little before 8, maybe something like that. I go, lay down to go to sleep. I sleep for maybe about 3 hours or so. I wake up. I look at my phone, and there's a text from my boss. He's like, "I really need you guys to come back in, blah blah blah, because we're still not operational." It's like, okay, so after only 3 hours of sleep, roughly, right? Now, I didn't get to work right away. I think I got to work, so we're on Thursday now. So I get back to work around 1 p.m. on Thursday. And Thursday we have a lot of success because we did all of the hardest work during that first initial 19 hours. So the 5 hours that I'm there on Thursday, we're basically getting everything kind of back up and working the way it was supposed to. It was actually kind of a beautiful thing because everything was coming back. By the time I left Thursday at 6 o'clock, I was there from 1 to 6. On Thursday, everything was basically operational, right? So, well, at least all of the most critical systems were operational by that time. So that was a good thing. And when I walked out the door of work on Thursday, I thought to myself, well, it was a terrible 2 days, but the worst of it's behind me. And I was thinking to myself, well, now I have, at least now I'm going to get a day off at some point, of my choosing. Because one thing I will say about my boss is he's a pretty reasonable, good boss. So I knew that, making that time up at some point, he wouldn't have a problem with it. So anyway, being salaried, it's important to be able to make that time up. And, if you can make that time up, great. So I was happy about that. So anyway, 6 o'clock rolls around. We all walk out and go to our respective cars. And that day, I happened to be driving my wife's car, which is a Toyota Yaris, which is much smaller than the vehicle I typically drive, which is a Nissan Frontier, which is a pickup truck. Because when you're in a downtown urban area, it's a lot easier to maneuver in a small car than a pickup truck. And I wanted to make things as easy on myself as possible that day, since I only had 3 hours of sleep. And so anyway, I, pull the car out of its parking spot. I go, down the parking garage. I pay and I leave. And I started to proceed down the street. And guess what happened at the first intersection that I was going to go through? I bet you already know. Anyway, I had the green light. And as far as I know, green means go. The other driver had a red light. As far as I know, red means stop. So anyway, I'm proceeding through the green light at somewhere between 25 to 30 miles an hour. I'm not sure exactly how fast I was going, somewhere in that neighborhood. She was proceeding through the red light at, probably about the same speed. And yet she can guess what happened. Boom, I hit her rear driver's side on her car, straight on, driving my car, and yeah, that was the basic result of what happened. Obviously, and I remember, she pulled over to the side of the road, obviously, and so did I. And I remember as I drove past her, I yelled, "You fucking ran a red light." That was exactly the first thing that basically I said. So I get out of the car, and she's a little bit disoriented, but she's not really injured or anything, thankfully. I'm glad she wasn't, but still. And the front end of the car I was driving was completely ripped off, right? The bumper was hanging off, and there's some damage to the front fenders, the hood, the whole 9 yards. It's just not looking good at all. So I'm just like, the wheel well is the inner wheel well is hanging out from one of the fenders. It's pretty bad on the vehicle I'm driving. And her car had some pretty significant damage. Her side impact airbags went off. Her rim was bent. There was some damage to her rear fender and her rear door. So, anyway, she, of course, then the police showed up really quickly. And before I proceed any further, we have some stereotypes we have to go over. The other driver was an Asian female. And there's a bumper sticker that says, female Asian driver, good luck everybody else. I just had to throw that in there, because that's what she was. I know I'm just joking around a bit, but if you're offended by something that's that lightly, ethnic or whatever, then you're just whatever. It's a joke. So yeah, that little stereotype held up there pretty well, and she barely spoke English, so that was fantastic as well. Yeah. So anyway, at that point, what happens is the police show up very quickly, and I got more stereotypes for you. There was two cops showed up. There was a white cop and a black cop. The white cop was kind of a dickhead. He's like, because I'm, visibly upset. I'm like, and he's like, well, you don't need to make things worse, but the white cop. And I'm just like, what do you think I'm going to do? And the white cop was being a little bit of a dick. I didn't really appreciate that. Then the white cop left, I guess, because the white cop arrived there first. Then the black cop arrived right after. And I guess the white cop explained to the black cop what had happened. And then the white cop left, and then I started interacting with the black cop. And the black cop was very pleasant, very professional, easy to get along with. I really, even though it was an unfortunate incident, interacting with him helped me feel less stressed. He did a really good job in the situation. Whatever. But, so at that point, I had to, of course, I swapped insurance info with this person, and I had to basically rip things. The vehicle I was driving, since there was no wheel damage or axle damage, I could still drive the vehicle I was driving. I didn't have to get towed, thank God. So I ripped off the bumper because it was hanging, so I just pulled the bumper off. But I wasn't sure what to do about the inner wheel well, right? I was like, because basically the plastic lining on the wheel well, and that thing was like hanging out, and I knew it would really drag the wheel, and I didn't want to drive on the interstate with the vehicle in that condition, so I kind of waited around a bit to see if a tow truck driver would come who could, help me remove it or whatever. The tow truck driver came, and he just used his foot and pulled it off and handed it to me, and I was like, I could have done that. But, it's not like this is something that I do every day, so whatever. When that happened, I went home, right? I get home about 8 o'clock. My wife, of course, was freaking out and everything. So anyway, that was pretty much... Oh, and of course, I called my insurance company, right? And they told me my two options. They said, option A is you file the claim with us. You pay your deductible. We run it through, and then when everything's done, her insurance company reimburses you for the deductible, blah, 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 all this, all that. And I'm like, okay, what's option B? They're like, option B is you file a claim with her insurance company, and they just pay for everything. I was like, well, obviously I'm going to go with option B. Option A sounds terrible. I don't want to, pay out and then get reimbursed later. No, that's bullshit. This is not, the wreck was not my fault. It was clearly the other driver's fault. So, no, I'm not paying shit. So, of course, I called her insurance company and filed a claim, got a claim number, the whole 9 yards. And then, obviously I let my boss know what was happening. I was like, I'm not going to. So I didn't go to work yesterday. Today's Saturday. So yesterday I didn't go to work. And so then the fun of yesterday began, right? First thing I had to do was take the car to the repair place, right? And we had to get a rental. That was an epic struggle because Enterprise didn't have any cars within the first 4 locations, like nearest to me, right? So I had to go halfway across town just to get a car. By this time, it was already like 11, 12 o'clock. I don't know what time it was. And on top of that, I had some pain in my right arm from the auto accident. Very mild pain. So then I'm like, well, I better go get that checked out. That killed another while, And so basically then I had to do a few other things, and then I didn't get home until 3 o'clock yesterday. And that's basically where it stands right now. And on top of that, my wife's car might be totaled. I'm not sure because her car is only worth between $4,000 to $5,000. It's not particularly valuable because it's a 2009 Toyota Yaris. And a Toyota Yaris is a relatively inexpensive car to begin with, and one that's nearly 10 years old is not particularly valuable. So it's not hard to total a vehicle like that. So I don't know how much the damage is, how much it would cost to repair it. But if that vehicle is totaled, that means I get to buy a new car, which is not something that I'm particularly relishing or looking forward to. It's more inconvenience, more expense, just a general humongous pain in the ass kind of thing. So that's how my last few days have been. I hope yours have been better. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Thanks for listening to me. I appreciate it. As always, if you like this, thumbs up. If you hate me, thumbs down. Share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.